Hello there, welcome once again to our Open the Book assemblies. It's good to be back with you for another term. I'm just reading the paper here. There's an article about the Queen. It was her birthday the other day, 95. And she's just saying thank you to all the well-wishers and all the people that sent her cards and things like that. See, it doesn't matter how important you are. It's always good to say thank you. And our story this morning is about someone who is very important in his country. And something happened in his life that made him really appreciate something. So hope you enjoy our assembly today.
Would you feel nervous about speaking to a very important person like the Queen or the Prime Minister? Today's story is about a very important person. His name is Naaman. He was the commander of the whole army. The story is also about a little servant girl. She wasn't important at all. In fact, she was so unimportant that we don't even know her name. So if you're ready, I'll open the book at the story called The Helpful Servant. Naaman was a soldier, not just any soldier, but the commander of the whole Syrian army. He was a very powerful man, but he was afraid. Naaman, you see, was ill, and no one knew how to make him well. His skin was covered with sores, and he couldn't feel his fingers or his feet. Everyone felt sorry for him, and God felt sorry too. So God whispered to a little girl who had been captured by Naaman's army and carried away from God's promised land. She worked for Naaman's wife, and one day she said to her mistress, "Back in Israel, where I come from, there lives a man called Elisha. God uses him to make sick people well. If only Naaman would go and see him." And before long, the great soldier who had fought against God's people was off to seek the help from God's prophet. Naaman didn't go alone. He took his servants and his horses and a chariot full of treasure to reward Elisha in case his cure should work. It was a grand parade, and Naaman expected a grand greeting in return. But when he sent one of his men to knock on Elisha's door, the prophet did not even answer. Instead, he told his servant Gazi to say,
"If you want to be well, go and dip yourself 7 times in the river Jordan."
Now, it may be that Naaman was tired and frustrated, or it may be simply that he was proud. Whatever the reason, the prophet's message made him angry.
The River Jordan, it's filthy. I'll throw myself into a river back in Syria, but I will not stick one toe in the River Jordan or take the advice of a man who cannot even be bothered to meet me.
"King your pardon, sir,"
mumbled one of Naaman's servants.
"but if the prophet had sent you off to do something hard, you would have gone straight away, wouldn't you?"
Well, of course, any soldier would.
"Well then, why can't you go and do something easy, like washing in the river? It can't hurt, and it just might work."
All right.
And he led his men to the river. He dipped himself twice, nothing. He dunked himself twice more. His skin was as ugly as ever. Twice more, and still no cure. Naaman was getting angry again. But when he came up for the 7th time, spluttering and shaking the water from his face, Naaman's men let out a cheer. Naaman opened his eyes and looked at his hands. The sores were gone from all over his body. Naaman dressed and hurried back to Elisha's house. The prophet himself answered the door this time. and Naaman could not contain his joy.
Take this treasure, take it all, for you have saved my life.
But Elisha said no, for it was God, after all, who had healed Naaman.
All right then,
Said Naaman, scooping up a pile of earth.
let me take this with you, so that I can stand on a piece of your land and worship your God too.
Elisha nodded and smiled, and God smiled too, for with a little girl and a muddy river, he had turned an enemy into a friend. Who do you think was really the most important person in that story? Was it the servant girl? Without the servant girl, Naaman would never have known about Elisha, and he would never have heard about Elisha's God. So she was very important after all. Close your eyes and think about the people who help you when you are unwell. It might be the doctors and nurses, but it might be your family or your friends. Say a silent thank you to them now. Now I'm going to say a prayer, and if you want to make it your prayer, say Amen at the end after me. Dear God, thank you for using a little girl to help Naaman get better. Please be with anyone we know who is ill today and help them get better too. Amen.
You give me the love that I need, everything I wanna be. You are my never-ending hope. You're living in all that I see. There is a future for me, my life, my everything. Thank you. I just wanna say thank you. I just wanna say I cannot believe what you've done for me. Thank you. I just wanna say thank you. I just wanna say, where do I begin? Everybody sing. Through the highs and through the lows I go. With you here beside me, every step I take with you, I know you're carrying me. You've taken the blame with the cross, given your life for the lost, to show your everlasting love. You're greater than I ever knew, beautiful, wonderful you, my life, my everything. Thank you. I just wanna say thank you. I just wanna say I cannot believe what you've done for me. Thank you. I just wanna say thank you. I just wanna say, where do I begin? Everybody sing.
Oh, that's better. Sorry, I forgot to plug the connection in. Always important to get the connections right, isn't it? I've got 2 more connectors here. Do you know what they might be for? I'll give you a clue. If we have a hot, dry summer, then it helps with something that I might use to keep the flowers alive in the garden. Or you might use it to help fill up the paddling pool. So if you've guessed that these are something to do with a hose pipe, then well done. They screw onto the outside tap and then I can water the garden easily. Except that this one is the wrong sort for my tap and I just couldn't work out why the hose wouldn't fit on. And believe me, it's really hard work with only a watering can. This connector, which is much smaller, is the right one for the job. So when it's screwed on, then I can use the hose, and that makes getting water to the right place ever so much easier. So I was really pleased to find that something so small could make such a difference. Today's story was about connections, wasn't it? But this time about the connections between different people. Someone who seemed very unimportant turned out to be very important. Can you imagine what a hard time that little servant girl must have had after she was captured, taken off to a strange land, made to work for strange people? But she wasn't grumpy or sulky about it at all. She just wanted to help someone who had such a horrible illness. I should think it took quite a lot of courage though, don't you? To tell Naaman about God's prophet back in Israel where she used to live. But she was the connection between Naaman and Elisha. And then Elisha was the connection between Naaman and God. And after God had made Naaman well again, Naaman became God's friend. Naaman's life was completely changed, and all because a little servant girl wanted to help. Isn't it amazing? We never know how something that we do to help, even if it's very small, can end up making such a huge difference to someone else. I think that's a really encouraging thought, don't you?